Hey, welcome back. This is Classroom Management for Teachers Part 2. In terms of managing cooperative learning groups, you want to have various strategies and routines to support cooperative learning. A room arrangement. You might want to line up desks to marks on floor for quick transitions to make sure you have desks in a proper place. B, you want to make sure that students know how to talk and move in terms of having set procedures. 6-inch voices, meaning that they know to talk to each other more quietly when they're close to one another. You want to have a person who's in charge of managing materials. You want to make sure that you state the time movement expectation with verbal reminders throughout. In terms of C, for group attention signals, for middle school students, you want to have them raise their hands. For high school, you want to turn on a projector and ask for your eyes at the front. Avoid interruptions, present information ahead of time. D, you want to promote independence within groups. In terms of individual tasks, you want to research different topics for a report, and you want to have group grades. E, in terms of promoting individual accountability, you want to make sure they identify contributions individually, evaluate peers, create individual notebooks at various times, individual responsibility to explain work. 7, you want to maintain appropriate student behavior. You can do this by monitoring student behavior. A, you want to make sure that you have students' involvement in learning activities. As said a couple times in the last lecture, you want to start with whole group activity. Then you want to roam around the classroom. Try not to spend more than 1 to 2 minutes per student. And B, you want to have the students comply with class rules and procedures. You want to make sure to do this to communicate clear expectations to the class early on. You want to foster student consistency. Inconsistency for poor rules or enforcement. They can miss the detection of inappropriate behavior, and this can be as a result of inconsistent enforcement. To improve consistency, you want to A, reteach a rule and discuss the problem that caused that problem and enforce it. B, you want to modify and reintroduce the rule if it's not so useful. Or C, abandon the rule and substitute a better rule in its place. 8, communication skills for teaching. You want to try to employ a constructive assertiveness. A, you want to make sure that you clearly state any problem or concern and describe the effects. This will help reduce student defensiveness and avoids labeling students. B, you want to make sure that you use unambiguous body language. For example, make sure that you have strong eye contact, posture, and facial expression, and that matches the tone of your statements. C, you want to obtain appropriate behavior and resolve the problem. You want to make sure that students need to accept the responsibility for the behavior and use dramatic emphasis for evasive students. You want to also ensure that you use empathic responding. A, keep communication open with students. This helps to aid solving problems. And B, you want to try to reinforce 2 different components or skills. First, listening skills and also processing skills. 9, in terms of managing problem behaviors, you want to be able to define what that problem behavior is. There's different types. This is from the least problematic to more. A is a non-problem. That's if a student has briefly inattention or they're talking during transition. It's usually not a big problem. Minor problem. B, students call out during your talking. They leave their seats. They talk during group work. C is a major problem, but it's limited in scope and effects, such as a student who's chronically off task or fails to hand in homework, engages in vandalism or cheating. D is an escalating or spreading problem. That would be like unabated social talking that goes on all the time, or back talk to you. In terms of goals for managing problem behaviors, you want to judge the short-term effects. You want the bad behavior to cease versus the long-term effects in terms of prevention. This will help to manage. You want to make sure that you have these long-term and short-term effects for any management strategy that you choose. Obviously, the optimal outcome is to maintain and restore order without adversely affecting the learning environment and prevent the repetition of a problem so it doesn't happen again or recur. 10, you want to make sure that you manage special groups, specifically of a heterogeneous class, which is normally the case. You want to assess students' entering achievement. If at all possible, try to examine previous tests or pre-tests, monitor initial work through classroom notes or book summaries. B, you want to modify whole group instruction. This can include different ways to involve participation, the pace of learning, managing student work, seating arrangement, assignments, peer tutoring, or enrichment. C, you want to promote cooperative work groups. D, you want to instruct small homogeneous groups within this larger heterogeneous class. This includes the location of groups material storage. You want to have student movement transitions, out of group procedures and expectations. And finally, mastery learning. You want to provide tests and then provide more feedback, and you want to be able to allow students to retake them to achieve proficiency. In terms of assignments, you want to be able to include extra grading, scheduling, record keeping, and enrichment activities. That was Classroom Management for Teachers Part 2. Thanks for listening.